I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. Ahead of Pope Benedict's trip to Lebanon, a representative from that country shares his insight.
We hope that the Pope is going to send the message that the Christians are actually an integral part of Lebanon, and the Christians should stay in Lebanon, and they should build homes and build relationships.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The cauldron that is the Middle East continues to boil tonight, while the Pope's peace mission to Lebanon is just hours away. New anti-American protests have broken out in Egypt, Tunisia, and Yemen, all in response to a trailer for an anti-Muslim movie on the internet. But in Libya, where U.S. Ambassador Christopher Stevens was murdered yesterday, there are pro-American rallies. In Benghazi, Libyans, young and old, took to the streets carrying signs saying, "Sorry, people of America. Chris Stevens was a friend to all Libyans, and no to al-Qaeda, no to violence." American intelligence experts believe the attack on Ambassador Stevens and our consulate in Benghazi was probably an al-Qaeda terrorist operation, using the film protests as cover. Libya's prime minister says at least one person has been arrested in connection to the killings of Stevens and 3 other Americans. Now at the Vatican, while the final preparations for the Pope's trip are being completed, a new statement by Father Federico Lombardi is being released, this time condemning yesterday's violence. Father Lombardi says, quote, "Nothing can justify the activity of terrorist organizations and homicidal violence." Comments yesterday had called for religious understanding. Hezbollah, identified as a terrorist organization by the U.S. government, is guaranteeing Pope Benedict's safety while he is in Lebanon. The Pope arrives in Beirut on Friday. Papal Nuncio to Lebanon, Archbishop Gabriele Casilla, says without the guarantee, the trip would not have gone ahead. Earlier, I welcomed the Consul General of Lebanon in New York, Majdi Ramadan, to our studios, where he shared his thoughts on the Pope's visit to his home country and today's troubles. Majdi, thank you so much for joining us. Before we get into the heart of our interview, I do want to address the attacks that are occurring right now as we speak and spreading, unfortunately, throughout the Middle East. Now, from your perspective and understanding, how much of the violence that we're seeing now on embassies and compounds in the Middle East, so much more about the film, and how much is it about using this movie and the controversy that it's stirring to promote a more radical agenda against politics, against Christians?
About the attacks, I would say, I mean, it's clear it's the responsibility of the governments that host these embassies to protect them. And of course, we're very sad for what happened in Libya, and it's something that we all condemn. And I mean, hopefully something like that is not going to happen again. But I mean, I can think about this from our angle in Lebanon. I'm not really very much concerned about stuff like that happening in Lebanon, because Lebanon is a very diverse country. It's a democratic country, and we haven't had like such attacks on embassies before. And I know that the U.S. Embassy is in a very safe location in Lebanon, and I know that the government is doing its best to protect all diplomatic corps. So I'm not really concerned, but of course I feel very sad, and it's definitely something that we all condemn, and we convey our heartfelt condolences to the family of the ambassador. Absolutely. And all the Americans that died, and it's really very sad, and hopefully something like that will not be repeated again.
And obviously it did raise concerns about the Pope's visit to Lebanon, which begins tomorrow. In your opinion, by the time we reach tomorrow, the violence may have spread, but you do believe that a Christian presence is essential in Lebanon. You've said that, and not so much as just being present, but there should be some kind of acceptance and participation. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
That's true. We're actually, I'll go a little bit back. The Christians in Lebanon, and basically more so the Catholics, played a very important role in the creation of the Lebanese state. And Christians in Lebanon, not like Christians in many other countries in the region, play a very important role in the country, in the political system, in the economy, and in the society. And I mean, you see Christians all over the Middle East. There are Christians in Egypt, in Syria, in Iraq, and in Jordan. But I'm really proud to say that the Christians in Lebanon do play a very important role. Okay. And they have been doing that for a very long time. And that's why we're very happy that the Pope is coming, is we hope that the Pope is going to send the message that the Christians are actually an integral part of Lebanon, and the Christians should stay in Lebanon, and they should build homes and build relationships and build businesses, because they belong to the region and they are a very important part, at least how I see it, not just for the Middle East, but also like for Lebanon, the Christians are very important.
And Christians in the region have said that they want full and equal citizenship with the majority of the Muslims. And it's essential for them to not just have a sense of tolerance. Do you think that's possible?
I mean, I would say, again, because I would speak as a Lebanese, I'm not going to say it's just possible. I think it's their right. And Christians all over the Middle East should be participating fully and equally like all other citizens. But again, as a Lebanese, I'm very proud to say that Christians do play a very important role in Lebanon. And this is the message that we hope that the Pope is going to be conveying to Christians, not just in Lebanon, to Lebanon, in Syria, and Iraq. Because, I mean, we saw that some of the Christians in Iraq, unfortunately, left the country. I mean, some of them actually came to Lebanon and some moved to Syria at some point. So we hope the message is going to be that the Christians should stay. They are a very important part of the region of Lebanon. And it's actually, it would be sad to think that the Middle East, where the cradle of Christianity is, that it would be without Christians. So, I mean, hopefully that would be the strong message that the Pope will be conveying in Lebanon.
He has prayed and he has delivered the message that there should be an urgency and of a dialogue between Christians and Muslims, especially in achieving peace. In your opinion, from your vantage point, what must this dialogue entail? Are there any concrete, substantial strategies that can put in place now to facilitate that kind of community?
I think there are many ways, but let me just put it in another way. You see, what's going on in the Arab region now, it's like the Arab Spring. I mean, in Lebanon, we have had an Arab Spring for a very long time. It's not a perfect democracy, but we do have a democracy. And it's a participatory democracy. And Christians do play a very important role in that democracy. So many of the issues that you see the Arabs in other countries are dealing with, these are questions we have already dealt with. And I know you can always think of new avenues where Christians can participate even more. And I think everybody's open for that. And that's why, it's not just the Christians who are receiving the Pope in Lebanon. It's all the Lebanese. And they are organizing this huge mass. And they're going to be Muslims, they're going to be Christians, and among Muslims, Shia and Sunni and Druze and Orthodox. So it's not just an event for Christians in Lebanon. It's actually a national event. It's for all the Lebanese. And I actually remember very well when Pope Jean Paul went to Lebanon. I was actually at the time still working as a junior diplomat at the protocol department in our ministry, and we were organizing the mass. And I saw at that time how many people came to the mass. And I'm sure also this time, it's going to be over 1 million. The estimates are going to be that. So everybody's waiting for the Pope. It's not just the Christians who are waiting for the Pope.
In the time that we have, I kind of just want to bring this full circle and bring it a little bit closer to home. As you know, we've been experiencing our own battles with religious tolerance and religious liberty here in the U.S., and which is not to suggest that this is in any comparison to the violence that's happening in the Middle East right now. But tell me, from your vantage point and your understanding, here in the U.S., the religious tolerance and religious liberties issues, especially with regard to Christians and Muslims, how are we here? What is the state of the dialogue between Christians and Muslims here in the U.S.?
I could tell you my own experience. I've been in New York for the past 10 years, and I'm a Muslim, and honestly, I have so many good American friends. I never felt that I was discriminated against because I'm a Muslim. And wherever you go in New York, and cab drivers, you see that. I actually was once in a cab, and I think the driver was Pakistani, and he was telling me how people are treating him here. And I'm not going to say from where how he was treated back in his country, but he says, as a Muslim, he feels here that he's not just welcome, he feels like equal, and he's happy to be here. So I really never felt that there's any discrimination. At least that's my own personal experience. So I think this country is a country which has always been open for immigrants from different religions and from different cultures and from different creeds. So this is why this country is great, not just because it's powerful. And I think these are some of the important things about this country. It's open, and people can participate no matter who they are, where they come. as long as they're successful, I think everybody succeeds in this country. It's I don't know. I've had a very good experience here, so I think you're really dealing with these issues very well.
Okay.
And I mean, sometimes I reflect on how we do that also in Lebanon. I'm not going to say that we always manage to do that perfectly, but I think over the years we've had problems, but in a way we always manage to overcome our problems.
We're definitely going to leave it on that encouraging note. I really do appreciate your being here and sharing your perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.